You're curious about lamps. I'm curious about lamps. Let's look into lamps. I've got a list of questions here that I want answered about lamps, and by the end of this video, we're going to answer all of them and then some. So let's get into things. We all know what lamps are. They're these bulb things that sit on stalks or bases of some kind. Let's look up the actual definition of lamp, actually. Okay, lamp, noun. Any of various devices that generate light and often heat especially. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a light bulb. This makes me wonder, let's go into like the history of lamps. The first question on my list actually is, how long have lamps been around? Historyoflamps.com, that sounds perfect. Ooh, that's a cool looking lamp. This one's got butterflies. I love it.
Since the dawn of humanity, men tried to create light and chase away the darkness.
Evidences of the first lamps used by early humans date back to 70,000 BC. They were of simple structure, just a shell or a hollow rock which holds a piece of moss soaked in animal fat that burns with a flame. And then as history progressed, lamps have been made of a bunch of materials including terracotta, marble, metal, and instead of fat, oil was used, fish and olive oil. I want an olive oil lamp, that sounds rejuvenating. Wick was also often added to prolong burning of the flame and to focus it. So I guess that's just kind of how lamps were. They burned oil or fat, clear up until the 19th century when kerosene lamps were introduced in Germany. It was a container with a kerosene in which wick or mantle was dipped that burned. That's pretty cool. That's probably what this picture is right here on the right. In fact, this lamp looks pretty heavily used. You can see a lot of char building up on it there. This is really neat to me. So apparently in the end of the 18th century, beginning of the 19th century, they started using coal gas for their lamps, and they would actually pipe it to the streetlights in most of Europe and the United States, it says. Now, I would have thought that Thomas Edison was the first one to make a electric lamp, but apparently the first electric lamp was in 1801 by Sir Humphrey Davy. And he made it by getting a battery and connecting the two wires to a piece of charcoal, and that would make it glow. And then later on, this was improved by Thomas Edison, and apparently at the same time, Sir Joseph Swan, who invented electric incandescent lamps independently, which worked like light bulbs that we're familiar with, where it's an electrical current passing through a filament, which causes it to glow. I'm not sure how old this article is, because this says, neon and fluorescent lights are very popular in both industrial and home uses. I think most of the time these days, most lights are LEDs, or maybe fluorescent still, but I don't think we really use neon so much, as far as I'm aware. And I didn't know this. Apparently mercury lights are, because of their color, efficiency, and life, used for stadiums, factories, and street light. So if you're at a stadium or in a factory or something and a big light breaks, probably don't mess with that because it might be full of mercury. Woo! Okay, we're looking at the history of gas lamps now, and we're just going to skip to the middle because this is interesting. In 1820, Paris starts using gas lamps on the streets. Gas streetlights were placed on the posts and had to be lit every evening and put out every morning. And this is the wild part. That was a job of lamp lighters that had to take care not to let too much gas into a lamp when they lit it, because otherwise it would result in an explosion. Every morning I'm gonna go out there and I have 100 lamps to light, and I could explode on any one of them if I'm not completely precise. So with gas lighting, because there were no regulations, firms that supplied gas maintained poor workmanship, which resulted in leaking pipes and low gas pressure. For the same reason, there were often cases of fire, explosions, and suffocations. I'm glad that it's not the main source of lighting anymore. So let's move on to the history of lamp styles now, because I want to know more about lamps and how they've been used in a more interior design artistic kind of way. Moving on to Catawiki. According to them, one of the earliest fashion trends of lamps was Art Nouveau. In England, this took the form of the arts and crafts movement led by William Morris, which was all about craftsmanship and natural elements. And at the same time, a similar, less rigid movement arose, defined by patterns inspired by nature: flower stems, wavy lines, and asymmetrical shapes. Lewis S. Sullivan captures the essence of modernism in one fundamental principle: form follows function. Functional first, and then look nice second. Which I feel like these lamps really capture. You know, this is lamp, shade, and then how can we make that look a little bit nicer? Whereas these, it's like, I'm going to make a flower and put a light in it. Personally, these first two really appeal to me more than this modernism does so far. After modernism, we have Art Deco. There were the straight lines and geometric forms of Cubism. There were the influences of Chinese, Japanese, Indian, Persian, ancient Egyptian, and even Maya art, while using rare and expensive materials such as ebony and ivory, all exquisitely crafted. Art Deco sounds expensive. After the expensive Art Deco, we have mid-century modernism. World War II brought the opulence of Art Deco to an end. Resources were scarce. Fair enough. We can't be focused on lamps all the time, I guess. Pop and postmodernism. Trying to create objectively beautiful and functional items is admirable, but what happens when the notion of good design is cast off? We get modern art. Bum, bum, bum. That's what these guys did with the anti-design movement. Anti-designers thought that objects should be unique, functional, and make you think. The goal never was to make timeless pieces. I feel like that's a more comprehensive history of lamps than I was expecting to get, so I'm pretty content with that. From here, I want to look into why lampshades. Okay, so a lampshade is a fixture that envelops the light bulb to redirect the light it emits. So they redirect light. So it's for nice. It's for nice, mostly, because I like it. And it makes it so that the light doesn't shine directly in your eyes. So that makes sense. I get that then. Okay, next question. I want to know if there are any like lamp world records. I have no idea what that would be. Brightest lamp, most lamps. I have no idea. We're going to look at it. If we go to Guinness World Records, which I seem to recall hearing that that's not a very reputable source for things because people have to like pay to be on there, I think. But anyway, they have a whole bunch of lamp records. So we're just going to burn through a couple of these really quick. The largest oil lamp measures 3,560 liters in volume and was achieved by Hero Realty in Mohali, India. That is massive. I see out on the side here, you can see there's a tiny little wick coming out of this massive bowl of oil that they've lit. I want to see the whole bowl get lit now. I also wanted to know the world record smallest lamp, and apparently it's so small that there isn't even a picture of it. Physicists have created the world's smallest incandescent lamp using a filament made from a single carbon nanotube only 100 atoms wide. It's tiny! Even with the best optical microscope, it is only just possible to resolve the nanotube's non-zero length. That is incredible. So the world's smallest lamp, a little bitty, itty, tiny little atoms. The largest display of oil lamps was apparently in Ayodhya in India. Look at these pictures. That is a lot of lamps burning. Look at that. Apparently there were 2,617,000 of them? Whoa! Okay, that aerial view really pulls it together. That is a ridiculous number of lamps. Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't think Guinness is completely accurate because I was trying to find a picture of the largest floor lamp, and apparently it's this, which just looks like a straight up lighthouse if you ask me. Here it is with somebody walking up to it. Look how massive that thing is. Oh my gosh. This is apparently a picture of the largest display of solar powered lamps, made with 2,743 solar powered lamps. And I'm so sad that there's not a better picture of this, but apparently the largest collection of oil lamps is held by Cyril Barla with 1,857 lamps. I think all of those look really neat. This is the largest oil lamp sentence made out of 33,258 lamps. This is a side note, but this says most people surf suit in 8 hours and has a picture of somebody with like a backhoe pulling soup out of it. What in the world? That's a big freaking soup bowl. I mean, it's not a lamp, but that's a lot of soup. All right, we saw the world records. Now I want to know about famous lamps. You know the one that comes to my head? This guy, the classic Pixar lamp. That's the one I always think of. That's got to be the most famous lamp that I'm aware of. But what other famous lamps are there? So I guess these are famous lamps from history. The grasshopper floor lamp, the Arco floor lamp. Ooh, I like the artichoke lamp. Serge Moulet 3-arm floor lamp. You throw some blur on that one, you've got a backrooms monster. There you go. I don't know, guys. I'm trying to find like iconic lamps or whatever, but I'm not finding anything other than the Pixar lamp. Okay, once again, I don't like these AI summaries, but it has a good point. We have the Pixar lamp, awesome. Then we have Aladdin's magic lamp, I guess that counts. But this one's good, the leg lamp from A Christmas Story. I didn't even think about that, but that's totally a famous like pop culture lamp. Next question. Huh? Oh, sorry, I got distracted. Right, lamps. Anyway, so let's move on to the last questions. What do we got? All right, so how many lamps should I own? All right, I like how this looks. How many lamps are normal? My mother has 32 plus lamps and refuses to part with them. Is that too many? This is on ADHD women. How many light sources do you have in your bedroom? They have 13 in their tiny lounge. So maybe 32 is a good number of lamps. Yeah, clearly I don't have enough lamps. I need more, but how many exactly? This says 5 to 8 light sources, which I am under. I'm gonna have to add some to my living room. You call this a living room? It's barely got 3 lamps. Lamp, 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 lamp. I ran out of lamps and I'm only at 7. Lamp. There you go, 8 lamps. I finally feel like I have a proper living room. You know, I set these up as a bit, but I'm kind of liking having the extra light in here. Maybe I do need more lamps. All right, now that that's been rectified, I need to answer the last burning question on my mind, which is, did that make me hotter? Does having lamps make me hotter? See, this is why I hate these AI summaries. It says, no, owning lamps does not directly make you more attractive. They can't be right. We're gonna find real humans to tell me that I am more attractive. Most of the results are like this one, and they're basically just saying that natural lighting makes you look better than harsher lighting, which is not the question. All right, maybe I need to ask this from a different angle. Maybe, okay, instead I'm gonna ask, will women like me more if my house is well decorated? And this says, don't ask what's attractive. That's not helpful. It's nice to see a guy's personality through how he decorates his place. Well, guess what my personality says? My personality says that lamps are great. So what that means, that since the decor of your house is important and lamps are decor, lamps are important because they express my personality through how I choose to decorate my place. And I choose to decorate my place like this. Thank you everybody for joining. I hope you enjoyed. Creature, stop. I'm trying to do an outro. Stop pawing at the window. I'm sorry, my cat's being so loud. Creature! Okay, Creature says, thank you for looking at lamps and also subscribe so you can watch the next random thing that we go into. Okay, bye!